Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time I've got a nice big batch of vintage large format books and annuals for us to go through. Predominantly a lot of Star Wars. There's some comic strip stuff as well. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so we're starting off with one of many Star Wars books. This is an old Droids colouring book. I mean, I say old, I don't quite know the vintage of this one. 1987. Well, there you go. I actually thought it might have been 90s, but 1987. I've got quite a few oddball sort of Star Wars pieces, quite a bit of vintage actually today. In fact, these are vintage Return of the Jedi, recently celebrating its 40th anniversary with showings around the UK in the cinema. 1983, so these were released. This is Return of the Jedi, Things to Do and Make. So it's basically Star Wars sort of puzzle books and things. And it's quite nice to see some of this stuff as opposed to the toys, which tend to get all the limelight. The picture puzzle book. To be honest, I think I'd probably be better off storing these with my magazines rather than with my larger format books, but they're here now, so we might as well go through them. I mean, they are technically books, but they're only 48 pages. They're more like magazines, aren't they? But these all seem pretty good. Chances are I probably got them all at the same time. I honestly can't remember. They are American ones. And it was the sort of thing that would get remaindered back in the day, you know? Dot to dot fun. But they were pretty cool, you know. All part of the Star Wars story. Yeah, well, they're fine. I mean, they're like absolutely unused, aren't they? Just a little bit of weight tanning, which you would expect with age. The Star Wars question and answer book about space. So, really pleased with the progress I'm making in the office where I do. It's pretty much wall-to-wall books, and my wife works in there. She's got a she works surrounded by books in the library. She gets a few funny comments when she's on a Zoom call and they see the sorts of books that are on display in the background. Here's a Jedi colouring book, and interestingly, this is published by Kenner, who actually did make the action figures back in the day. But quite a nice little colouring book, that. So there's that one, and there was this one as well, which I believe is the pair, so they did two. All Return of the Jedi scenes. Yeah, those two are nice. Now this one is my original one from when I was a kid, the Star Wars storybook. Absolutely fantastic, this one. And this is the Collins hardback version of it. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room here. Yeah, this is the Collins hardback edition, but it did, I believe, come in paperback, which we may actually have. Now this one is going to definitely benefit from a polish on the dust wrappers, because they're looking quite the worse for wear. And I see they got the Star Wars pop-up book, which I have got, and then the Star Wars Punch Out and Make It book, which I don't think I've ever even seen a copy of, that one. Maybe it didn't get published, but this is just the standard sort of storybook that you would see time and time again. These were massive sellers in their day, really huge print runs. Let's have a look at this. This is the British one, first published in the UK in this edition in 1978. And it's got two different ISBNs, the cased edition, which is basically the hardback, and then the Armada edition, which is the softback version. So that's absolutely fine inside. As I said, I've had that from brand new, but the dust wrapper, you just sort of see it's got signs of sort of aging in that. So here's The Empire Strikes Back, which I don't believe ever had a hardback storybook. Not that I can remember anyway, but I don't know. I've got the pile here, so we'll have to have a look. Once again, pretty sure that was my original one. Then we've got Return of the Jedi storybook. Now, looks like I've got this one in a couple of different forms, so let's have a look. This one is Scholastic, and I believe this is the American Star Wars Return of the Jedi storybook. Yeah, it is. So that's the US one, which is absolutely minters. Then I've got this one here, which maybe this is the British one. So it still says it's Scholastic. Well, this one's definitely British because it's got £2.50, and it's got Futura on, which was a British arm of Collins. So it's absolutely immaculate, that one, and that's the British one. And this is the American one with the alternate cover, which I believe was used on the earlier printings. So this is I know this is also British. It says first GB, but Scholastic. So one's Scholastic and one is Futura. So just different printings. And then there's this one again. So this is the hardback of the one that we've just seen. Blimey O'Reilly. Now this has definitely got some. You can sort of feel it's a bit sort of dirty, a little bit dirty around the edges, a bit like a traditional annual. So we'll give that, you can sort of see the spotting there. You see that? That should come up, and oh, look at that around the Jedi logo. That's where a sticker's been. That should come up really nicely when we give it a polish. So we'll try and remember that that particular one does need a good clean. That. So let's get that pile right over there. Now here's another Jedi one. This one's St. Michael. Let's just rearrange the camera. Well, that's hopefully given us a little bit more room. But yeah, this one published by St. Michael. So that, if you're in the UK, St. Michael is the brand of Marks and Spencer's. And they used to do their own book range, believe it or not. And they'd only have the very cream of the crop, the best of the best for the hottest sort of franchise. So they didn't do a great deal for Star Wars, but this was one of them. They did a really nice Doctor Who one in the 70s as well, which I've got, which is absolutely fantastic, the Dalek Omnibus. But that's quite nice. Once again, like a traditional British annual, that's going to need a good old polish when we get to it. Droids. This is a Droids American hardback. Once again, tying in with the Droids animated TV show, which I preferred above the Ewoks one, but I was a bit too old to sort of enjoy it at the intended age range, shall we say, you know. Once again, I'll give that a little polish in a mo. Here's another Droids adventure, The Lost Prince. There's quite a few of these to collect. I have by no means got them all. I've got some smaller ones as well. My little brush in there. It's got just in the rails a bit of dust. Yeah, I mean they are what they are. They're nothing too special, but I guess these are quite scarce. I can't imagine they sold loads and loads, you know, in all honesty, but who can tell? Now here's a French Ewoks hardback, published by Whitman. In France, their sort of comic strips generally did get released in a hardback form rather than paperback, and they're called like biddies. And I think it harks back to the time of things like Asterix, The Gaulle and Tintin, predominantly on the continent, coming out in a hardback edition. And it's a tradition that carries on today. So you generally, when you see French graphic novels or books of that sort, they're in hardback. The Star Wars Technical Journal. And look at that, it's got my old shop sticker on, $14.99. And this, I believe, was a little compilation of 3 different Starlog magazines. I shall keep the Purple Haze sticker on for nostalgic reasons, but that's quite nice. That's published by Box Tree. Right, we're on to something other than Star Wars now. So Swamp Thing. So Swamp Thing is one of my all-time favourite DC characters, and the run that came out, I suppose, when was it? The early 80s, about 83, I think it started, when top writer Alan Moore started writing for it. That was a fantastic run. Now, you may be aware of the Files magazine series, and they did a whole series of books on like Star Trek and Doctor Who and Man from U.N.C.L.E. Well, this is a Files magazine spotlight on Swamp Thing, and they did 3 in total, covering the entire sort of Swamp Thing run. And there they are, and finale being the last one. And I remember absolutely loving these. So it's like a critical look at the Alan Moore Swamp Thing stories, and I remember absolutely loving these. And they were really, really difficult to find at the time as well. So there you go, that's the 3 of those. You might be lucky and find them online, but if you're a fan of that particular comic strip, it's recommended. The Sweeney, one of my favourite TV shows, favourite cop shows out there. Very, very cool. Sadly, all the main cast are now gone. But they did 3 annuals in the UK. And we've got all 3 to look at today. And I see that one's got a little 50p inside, but it's in ink, so I'm not going to be able to do anything about that. And the cover is going to need a good polish. It's quite, not warm, but it's just a little bit dirty. Here's the second one here. Yeah, it's definitely got some wear on that. So the polishing bit is probably going to be the main bit of the work this time round. The polishing and the brushing. Standard sort of British annual inside. A few comic strips, games, that sort of thing. And that's the crossword puzzle there. I generally, even though that one's in pencil, I generally don't bother rubbing out the crosswords. It's just, I find they actually look worse once they've been rubbed out, although that is quite light. Should we just try a couple of letters just to see? Maybe something I come back to. I wouldn't subject you to rubbing out the entire crossword on this video. Yeah, that's going to come out very, very easily, so that'll be one that I come back to, I think, when I've got 10 minutes and give that one a rub down. And this was the 3rd Sweeney annual. This one, interesting, it's got a cut down the bottom there. I've got to admit, I haven't looked at these in many, many years. I see this one's also got a crossword in it somewhere. Oh, look at that. Someone's put some graffiti on him. I think this is going to have to go on the upgrade list. Thankfully, these are pretty cheap. They're only like £6-7 each. So, yeah, ironically, and the crossword's been done like in pen rather. So, yeah, I shall put this one down. So this is the Sweeney annual, and it's dated 1977. Maybe that's the first one as well. Yeah, and I think because it's got that crease down there, it does let the other 2 down a bit. So, I'll give it a clean in a minute, but I think that one's going to go on the upgrade list. And this is really nice. Who remembers the TV show Taxi? God, that's got some wear there. It looks like it's been remaining. So that'll benefit very much from a polish in a minute. But yeah, Taxi, what a great show. This book, it is almost like encyclopedic. It's not exactly filled with great photos or anything, but it's about the best book that was ever written about Taxi. And I remember it was a good little sitcom. It was on a lot in the UK. I mean, it was on a lot, and it got repeated a lot. And certainly made a star of Danny DeVito and some of the other ones there. Mary Lou Heller was the love interest, wasn't she? She was the dazzle girl on that show. Christopher Lloyd, of course, yeah. Andy Kaufman. What a cast that was, actually, wasn't it? You know, that really was. Oh yeah, there we are. Jeff Conaway went on to be in Babylon 5. Judd Hirsch, of course, still around today. Good stuff. Yeah, the Taxi Guide. Okay, I did mention we got a few graphic novels. This is Jimmy Corrigan. This is absolutely incredible graphic novel. These came out individually and they're quite difficult to find these days, but Chris Ware was the author, and I've got a few. In fact, I've got most of his graphic novels. He's got that really, really distinctive art style. It's highly sort of rendered. Each picture is like almost like a remaster of itself, so it's absolutely perfect. Every single line, if that makes sense. As you can see, it's a great, great book. So yeah, fantastic. Beautifully designed. The guy is as much a designer as a comic strip writer and artist. Quite dusty, so we'll give that a good brush in due course. There are a couple of books that sort of format. This is the Complete Peanuts. These are published by Fantagraphics in America, and they released them by Canongate over here. And this was the very first volume, which is one that I really enjoy. I love the very, very early Peanuts. I'd love to get the whole series. I've got them digitally, but I'd love to get them in this format where they're perfectly reproduced. One of the things I really like about the early ones is their constant visits to the comic book shop, and they just sit on the floor of the shop reading the comic strips in the newsagents. That's fantastic. I really, really love those ones. You see the artwork, because this is the first couple of years whilst Peanuts existed. The artwork's quite crude compared to what came from the early 1960s onwards. These early years, he's still sort of finding his style and the characters' voices, but I absolutely love them. And I said these are all available, and the American editions by Fantagraphics, I'd say, are better. As a bookend to that series, I highly recommend this one here, Peanuts, The Art of Charles Schulz. It's designed by Chip Kidd. It's in the same format, so it fits in beautifully with the Complete Peanuts run. And this is just a delight, an absolute delight. This book's one of my all-time favourites, and you'll soon see why. Just look at how well this is designed. It's got lots of like original art pages. It's got stuff from Schulz's art studio. It's got memorabilia. It's just, you could just lose yourself in this. Look, cut out strips and stuff. It's just the greatest. What a beautifully designed book this is. Very, very clever indeed. It really is. Character studies. Little Folks, of course, that's where the original Peanuts gang came from. It was an incredibly sad day when Schulz passed away, but it was good that he was able to finish the strip in 2000. He brought it to like a close. This is, as I said, this is an absolutely gorgeous book. It really, really is. Highly recommended, this one. It pulls all the right strings for me, and I pretty much read it cover to cover as soon as I got it. So there we are. So Peanuts, The Art of Charles M. Schulz. What a book that one is. Back to some more Star Wars stuff now. We've got some more Peanuts to come in a minute. Yeah, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. So this was a guidebook to the Nintendo 64 Star Wars game. How bananas is that? It's part of my sort of gaming collection that I never ended up getting rid of. Good stuff. It's a pretty good game, that Shadows of the Empire, as I recall. Now these are, I think these are like 90s things. Let's grab those. Six fold-out panels to colour. So yet another colouring book by the look of it, but 1997, so blimey, 26 years old those now. Golden books, they're American ones. These are all, well, these two were part of the same series. This is the complete story with stickers that you can peel on. So I guess the aim was to peel off the stickers and then put them like an activity book, basically. Quite nice. Once again, this is probably more like, it should go in the magazines really, the official collector's edition. It's got an American dollar and a UK price on it. Sadly got some damage at the bottom of the spine there, which is a shame, because this is the sort of thing that was so common. I should have picked up really mint ones at the time, but I don't know. That's quite nice, that, isn't it? Quite a nice little, I'd say more magazine than a book, that one. And similar to this one, this is the Return of the Jedi version as well. Once again, not sure if we're going to be able to do much with that sticker there. Once again, a bit disappointed that these are so low grade. I may actually have other versions in with my Star Wars magazines. I've got 4 comic boxes absolutely rammed full of Star Wars related magazines. So the British comic book as well, I've got a full run of that, which I've never got out on the channel yet. I just haven't got around to it because there's so many of them. This is a gorgeous book, Magic and Myth. This was an American one. I don't think it got published. Oh yeah, it got imported over here. So this is the American edition, but with a British import. Can't remember who actually imported it. One of the bigger publishers. Let's see, a really, really nice book, really lavish. They're gorgeous, isn't it? I'm spoiling you today with all this Star Wars stuff. Now this one, it's never been opened. It's the Star Wars Encyclopedia by noted collector Steve Sansweet. And so we'll just give that a wipe down, but that's staying sealed, that particular one. This is another one I had when I was a kid. This is my original one. Mum bought me this one. You're a Good Sport, Charlie Brown. There are actually a few others in this series, and you know, I'd be tempted to get them. I believe it adapts, yeah, it's based on the TV specials, and there is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the one I always had. There is, so I guess there's 6 in this series, and absolutely gorgeous. I remember loving this book as a kid. Great, great graphics, as you can see. They're brilliant, isn't it? You know, I might have a little try and see if I can find the rest of those. 1976, that's it. I would have been a 6-year-old. So there they are. There's the ones on the back. So yeah, I might have a little try. I'm going to be looking forward to giving that clean because it's picked up some dirt over the years. But won't be anything difficult to do. Here's another great Peanuts book. Now this is available in paperback and hardback. I have got the hardback edition. Now it's got a little insert here that I saved from Comic Buyer's Guide. Oh, this is when they celebrated Schultz's 75th birthday. This is from 1997. This was their feature on it. Oh wow. I used to have an incredible run of the books, the paperbacks, British and American, but I've sold them on a long time ago now because there was just so many of them, and they didn't really reprint the comic strips in the order that I liked. It was a bit bitty, so I got shot of them, and although they were quite nice, the very early ones I had. So this has got a bit of wear inside. This was much harder to find in hardback than the paperback, but if you can find it, it's not too expensive. It's just a matter of being patient. It's like some of the best of strips with other people weighing in. There's lots of Schultz himself being interviewed. It's a really, really great book, this one. Yeah, I don't think I paid much for this when I came across it. Didn't have it at the time. Published by Alan Lane in the UK, which was look at the dust on it, which was the British hardback arm of Penguin. So that'll benefit from a good clean in a minute, a good brush down anyway. Star Wars: The Old Republic. Now this was also a Star Wars video game. It was the MMO, so the massively multiplayer online RPG, and I played it for about a year. It was alright. It was no Warcraft, but I did enjoy sort of playing it and flying around the universe with my character, who was a smuggler, as I recall, very similar to sort of Han Solo. Yeah, I think stuff related to the Old Republic is quite scarce these days, but that was, well, that's probably 10 years ago. Here's another book that's sealed, the Star Wars Death Star. I was just thinking, have we done our Star Wars pop-up books? I've got all three, but I can't remember if... I don't think we've cleaned those yet. But here's another more modern one, which I'll just give a dust off. A pop-up desktop, but it's still sealed. So we'll leave that one sealed from 1997. This is when I had a shopper course, so I could keep examples of this stuff in nice condition. Now we got the Star Wars sketchbooks here, so they're in slightly out of order, but it doesn't matter. This is the Return of the Jedi one. These are quite scarce to find nowadays as well. Don't really see these around. I guess they came out, yeah, so this is copyrighted 83, so that would have been when Return of the Jedi was released. Here's the Empire Strikes Back one. Got some dirt in it there. A lot of my Star Wars books, my original ones, are a bit chatty because, well, I've had them from the day, you know, and they generally had a lot of action. So that's the Star Wars sketchbook. I wonder if these ever came out in hardback. Yep, so that's the first from June 1980. And here's, well, quite a really, really dusty, big sticker mark on there. We're going to need to do a job on that. It looks like the old Mr. Sheen's going to be working overtime for some of these books. But that's okay. There's another one in that same sort of format. How to draw Star Wars heroes, creatures, spaceships, and other fantastic things. So it's how to draw Star Wars. They never missed a trick, did they? That's pretty cool. When was this? 1984. So that was one of the ones afterwards. And then finally, a couple more sealed books. So we're not going to be looking at these much. The Rebel Alliance. And this is another lift. It's similar to that pop-up Death Star one, but this is the British box tree one. And this is dated 1996. And this one here must be, that was the Rebel Alliance. This is the Galactic Alliance. Same thing. Same publisher. Same date. There we are. Wowee. Well, look, that's cool. So I think what we'd do, I shall go back to pile number one, and we'll make a start brushing. We'll brush and polish as we go along, I think, on this lot. Right then, so got my trusty Mr. Sheen and a fresh bit of cloth. And we're going to get going. Now, some of these, this has got a very, very shiny top, so that's fine. But some of the other ones, we're not going to be able to give them a polish. But I'll, this one's absolutely fine for a polish. And there's a few bits that needed it. And there was like an old sticker mark there, which has instantly come off. And I suppose when you think about it, a lot of these are 30 to 50 years old, some of the books that we're seeing today. So potentially they picked up a bit of dirt in that time. Now these ones here are more like magazines. I don't think I can really get away with giving them any sort of polish. But let's go through these ones because they're similar size, and we'll give them all the brush. Yeah, quite dusty. That's something that's never been done to them, is give them a dusting. And we'll try and pop these in a pile as we go along. The only thing with large format books is I need a bit more room to actually clean them properly. A little bit more room than I've generally got in my studio here. This one a long old time. Lovely. That's definitely an improvement on that one. Now, once again, they've got they're almost like paper jackets. So I think what I'll do, I'm just going to give them a wipe down with a non-Mr. Sheen part of the cloth, because I don't think if I put actual Mr. Sheen on there, I don't think it's going to do them any good. I think it'll be have an adverse effect, and it won't do it. And my mantra is basically with these, if in doubt, leave it out. So if you aren't really sure with any sort of old book or paperback or anything like that, if the Mr. Sheen is going to pop it on, just don't do it. Just give it a wipe and just accept that that's as good as it's going to get, because else you could just ruin it, and I would definitely hate for that to happen. Now here's my old Star Wars book. Now with something like this, which has got a really, really glossy cover, I can just spray it straight on. And in the days when we had the shop, this is exactly how we would do it. We would clean vinyl records this way as well. We just spray the Mr. Sheen on, and one person would be doing the covers and the other person would be doing the actual vinyl. I knew one record dealer. He would deal in mega rare records, and he would clean the records as good as he possibly could in the traditional way. See, that looks much better. And then he would actually play the records to get any extra sort of dust and that might have been picked up actually out of the grooves as well. And then he'd clean the record again, and that was basically his process. And I think it worked really well. You can see all the dirt and damage around, or all the dirt rather, around the back of this one. As I said, this was my original one from when I was a kid. And generally speaking, stuff that I had as a kid that I've staved has not ended up always in the best of conditions. But this one has thankfully cleaned up quite nicely. Not that it's rare or anything like that. This was a big seller, this book. But it's always nice to have it looking as good as possible, which is exactly what it now does. I'm pleased with that. That's made a huge difference on that. It's even got some spine roll on it, probably from all the times that I read it myself. Oh, final stage, of course, is I'll actually take the wrapper off because I want to give the top edges a good dust, because they are awful. Really, really dusty. Quite nice with the X-Wing in silver there, isn't it? There we are. I've really emboldened that now. Now this one is pretty nice. So once again, being a magazine, I don't think it's going to really benefit from having any polish on. I'll put it back because I've got to give it a brush in a moment. And that'll be the same for that one as well. This one was virtually mint, so that's the same. This one was far, far worse condition, and I don't think, once again, we can do anything with it. So I'm just going to give these a brush down. Okay. Now this one, definitely, so it's got a bit of sticker. So I'm going to get off that with my finger first of all. That's fine. And then I'll put some polish around that bit to lift that off. And then the front is also quite rough. So I'm going to do the back bit first. So I've put a bit directly on that where the sticker was. And I'll just do the other bits here while we're waiting for that to soak in. In fact, that is really, this one is really quite bad. So, but all these black bits should look a lot better once they've been polished here. You remember where that sticker muck was? Let's give that a polish now. And that's, as you can see, lifted up perfectly. That's lovely. That's just the sort of thing we're looking to do today, because I had no idea. These Star Wars books have never ever been cleaned. They've just been accumulated over the years, you know, so that's exactly what we're aiming to do here. The spine's nice and white. Now this front, you see all this sort of, that is almost like, and there's a sticker mark there. It's almost like where it's been against other copies, if that makes sense. So we'll leave that bit with the sticker on to soak in, and we'll see if that polish is going to lift up these like wear marks. And I think we're probably going to be in luck. But with these large format books, this is actually the biggest part of the operation. Is the polishing, because inside none of them were that bad really, except that Sweeney book, which is now on my upgrade list. There we are. My polishing tends to follow the pictures sometimes, you know. So that's going to need a little bit more in a minute, but let's see if we've, see that, there's that really bad sticker mark. So it's made the first steps on that, but it's going to need to be gone back and gone over again. Yeah, definitely looking better than what it was, because it was pretty awful. Don't know there's much left that we can rub off without damaging the jacket. So just that one little bit there, where it looks as if someone historically is not done a very good job in removing it. Now, that isn't bad at all. I think we're just about as good as we're going to get it, which is a huge improvement over what it was. There we are. I'm quite pleased with that. That's all right. That's not too bad a job. Right. Now, similar story with this, but it's in nowhere near as bad condition. So I just put a bit straight on, and we'll give it the just the cursory wipe down, because I have had these over the years, and we used to sell all these Star Wars books in the shop, and they would come in all manner of condition. But I remember we used to sell loads of them to a dealer in France, actually. In Compare, he had well, there was two. There was one in Compare and one in Nantes, and we would trade French Star Wars items, and they would trade it for British. And Lauren and Romulard, and my friend Lauren is still trading. He has a shop in Brest called Happy Collector, if you're ever in Brest. Now this one's not bad at all. Just a spot on the back I noticed, so just finished this one, and I remember we didn't give that one a brush either, so I haven't forgotten. I got that bit of black there, so let's give that a... Nope. Stubborn. There we are, and the Mr. Sheen does it again. Then right along the top edge here, which is quite the common spot for it. There we are, looking good. Very nice indeed. Yeah, that's, you could say, almost immaculate. Just had a few little marks. There's one which you can only see in a particular light, which I've just got off down the bottom there. It was actually a splash of liquid, believe it or not. Yeah, perfect. So let's go back to this one while I remember it, and brush the edges. I want to keep that tidy. I'll do the same with this one. Lovely, that's cool. Now, another one here. Once again, a few little marks and a bit of wear on that, so hopefully we can get that almost gleaming. Much harder to see signs of that sort of damage on this coloured front, but that's okay. We'll give it a little blast. Spot mark there. Right, so a few little bits on the back here. Bit of tactical spraying. There we are. Cleaning these up beautifully. Lovely. These little dots coming up very, very easily. You see how the Mr. Sheen just eats into it, and we're absolutely fine to do these because, like a lot of annual or picture books, they got nice, highly glossy covers, which make them extremely receptive to cleaning, just the way that we're doing it here. Look at that, that's come up. There we are. So that back cover, which was a bit spotty, is now perfect. Probably quite a scarce book, that, in all honesty, but you know, not massive demand, I wouldn't have thought. Right, here's that French one. So we've got the brush out, so I'll give it the brush first. Now I'll give it the polish. So this would have been one that I got from one of my French friends when we used to trade vintage back in the day, and lots of records we used to trade as well, I remember. Not a massive fan of the Ewoks, in all honesty, but they are what they are. They're part of the Star Wars story, and can't get away from them. So it looks like there was 3 books in this particular series, although I've only got the one. Yeah, so they come out pretty nice. That not perfection, but not bad. A few little marks there, but they're not something that I can rub off, sadly. Yeah, a few little dings in that, but pretty rare, pretty scarce those, particularly in the UK. This one I'll just give it a cursory wipe over because I bought the book brand new. So it's just got a little mark there on the A I can spot. Apart from that, it's absolutely fine. Something books. Now, I'm not sure about these. I think I'll just give them the cursory wipe treatment rather than anything beyond that, because I don't think the books are that have got that thick sort of glossy covers. They are more like magazines. So just a very, very cursory once over with my slightly damp cloth is all that these are going to get, because beyond that I think I'm maybe doing more harm than good, and we don't want that. So just a little cursory wipe over. This one's a bit more like a traditional graphic novel cover or magazine, so you can definitely get in and do that. This is my original one from when it was published. It was about 86, 87, something like that. James Van Heist, he wrote loads of these sorts of books, these guidebooks. Before the days of the internet, this was how you got your information. Lovely. Now we got the 3 Sweeney annuals here. Okay, so we got our Sweeney books. So I think I'll give the 3 the brush first of all. While I'm here, the last one of this pile was my taxi book. There we are. Let's give these the polish treatment. You could almost sort of feel the dirt coming off this one. That's never been cleaned in its almost 50-year lifespan. Let's slip that one up on that pile there. Dennis Warman sadly passed away last year. This is the one that's going to get replaced. I'll just give it a cursory wipe because it's a bit on the worn side, this, with graffiti in, which we don't want that, do we? It's not befitting my collection. So it's just in there as a placeholder for now. Now this one had that wear around the sticker, didn't it? So let's give that a bit of targeted polish just while we wait for that to work. I'll do the rest of the jacket here. I bought this one of those off eBay. It was one of those cheap book depository sorts of things, you know, where it was just a few pounds. So I didn't mind that at all. See if it's going to do the trick on that. Yeah, it has, yeah. Dissolved most of the sticker. Much better than what was there to begin with. You can see. Yeah, certainly did enjoy Taxi in its day. It was brilliant. It's still quite fun these days. I think one of my favourites is a 2-part episode, if you can track this one down. I think it's called like The Story of Taxi 883. And it's basically all the regular cast members. It's a 2-parter. And the cast members remember all the good times that they'd had or interesting things that had happened in Taxi number 883. I think it's something like that. And it's a really, really good highlight of the series in my opinion. So if you get a chance to choose, that's a real highlight. I'm sure it's mentioned in this book. Lovely. Right, let's get pile number 2 out. Okay, so obviously this is a paper cover, so we cannot do anything with that. However, look at the dust on the top there. So I think for safety's sake, we'll take off this rather delicate, but also rather beautiful dust wrapper. Look at that. I don't see many dust wrappers like that, and it's an actual fold out. So it folds right out into a picture, but I'm not going to do that because, as I said, it's really, really nice. Just a masterpiece of design, this. It really, really is. However, my copy has ended up getting quite dusty. So let's give it the brush down. A couple of little marks on there. So sometimes what I'll do, if the top of an edge is marked like that, it's something I'm not really sure what's caused it, because I've given it a good brush. You can sometimes get your normal soft rubber onto a dot like that and see if it makes a little bit of an impact. You could always get an ink rubber and it would actually just wear down the top just a tiny bit. But whatever that was, it's now not quite as pronounced. So that's just a little tip. I've done that on lots of really, really ancient books. So that does look better than what it did, that's for sure. It's the original printing of this, and I don't want to get rid of it. It's, I really do like Chris Ware's style. He's a real master. I used to have the original individual comics of that, and they came out in a variety of mad, and I mean mad, formats. But they're really cool. So that was that one. Now this one's a lot more recent, so there shouldn't be much in the way of dust on the top. No, there isn't. It's a little bit. So that's perfect, that one. So we'll leave that as is. And then this one was that other gorgeous book, and this one, once again, it will be dusty, but we're not really going to be able to see much of that dust. But believe me, it's there. Lovely. Right. Start making another pile here. Right, that's Shadows of the Empire. So that's 25 years of dust coming off there. The actual cover doesn't seem like there's a mark on it, but probably because I bought it when it was brand new. In fact, we may have even sold it in the shop, being Star Wars related and it being in the 90s. So there was a chance I actually had this as an import and sold it. Yeah, there's a few little sticker marks and things, so has actually benefited from that polish there. There we are. Yeah, although obviously mega basic today, the actual game of Shadows of the Empire was really good, as I recall. Now these are those sort of magazines, so they're just going to have to be nothing I can do with those at all. There we are, we're back in the room. So what was I saying? Yes, so I can give these a brush, but because of the actual nature of these being virtually magazines, I can't polish them, because I think it would just do more harm than good. So, as I said, my mantra is, if in doubt, just don't do it, leave it out. Looking at the bottom of this one, I was just thinking about re-gluing it, but I suppose I could. If you have a look there, just a little flap there, I can just glue that back in, so hopefully it doesn't get any worse. But it's not the greatest of condition, and I am absolutely amazed that something which is ultimately, this is quite common, these magazines sold an awful lot back in when they were published. I'm surprised my copies are actually a bit rough compared to what I would have imagined them to be. That's probably enough of a smear, and we'll get the excess out in a sec. Yeah, that's fine. It's just going to stop it catching and getting any worse more than anything, you know. So good old Mr. Pritt to the rescue. Right, now this one here was that one which was brand new, so I don't think there was any marks on it at all. But once again, I just give the top edge where it's been on the shelf. Now, believe it or not, I've still got loads more Star Wars books to come. You know, there has been a lot over the years, and it's one of the areas I've specialised in. I've got some great movie books as well, books on movie posters. I've got all manner of cool stuff to come. So I have been enjoying doing these large format books. I know it's not quite my norm because I'm such a big paperback collector, but at the same time, you know, these are part of my collection, so that's why they're here. There we are. So even that had a dirt on the plastic, so that's now really nice. This is the nostalgic one. I just love this, but I'm definitely going to try and get the other ones round, definitely, because that one's just so good. remember my mum would have bought me this one. Not sure where she would have bought it. She used to subscribe to like a book club where you could buy books through the post. I remember that's how she got an early Doctor Who book for me, Planet of the Spiders, in hardback, which was really something at the time. Absolutely loved that one. This one, because it's been through the wars and it's my original one. It's now I'm cleaning it. It's got quite a bit of wear along the edges there, but it's stuck with me all these years. But it may well be when I go searching online for some of these, maybe I find a little lot which has got 2 or 3 of them, so I may end up with a few doubles, and I may end up letting my original one go, and I'll get an upgrade to it, because this one isn't perfect by any means, but it is my original one, so it has a certain level of nostalgia, as these things tend to do. Yeah, that's about as good as we're going to get it, I think. Let's get a bit more wear in that corner up there. It's not shifting. Yeah, beautifully designed books. They really, really are. Well, that's got that looking pretty nice, actually. In all honesty, I think that is what a great book this is. Sorry, I'm banging on about this one, but it's very nostalgic for me, and I absolutely love the story. Excellent. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a slightly minter one. I mean, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but that edge there it's got worn is a little off-putting, but there you go. Right, now this one was really, really dusty, wasn't it? So there we are. Quite a dusty old tome, that, on all edges, in fact, but we've done all right there. However, I do think it's worth giving the cover a polish. It's just got a little bit of tanning in all the usual places on the edges, sort of fingerprint marks and that. I said I only got this off eBay and it was pretty cheap, so it wasn't expensive by any means. Got to get the polish at just the right angle for it to actually come out. Vertical is what it needs to be. There we are. I mean, not perfect, but absolutely fine in all honesty. And my little insert there as well. Okay. That's right in the way, so let's just lie that one down for now. Now we got the, of course these are all oblong books, aren't they? So this is how they've been stored on my shelf. is because they're sort of the oblong shape, so we'll give this one a wipe. This is probably one of the most recent books we've actually seen here, so I don't think there's any marks to come off per se, but there may be a few sort of invisible ones that the eye can't discern. Nice book that for $14.99. This is the first of those sealed ones, so we'll just run my cloth over the edges like that, and it's more dust rather than anything else. A pretty cool shape, that, isn't it? Now these are going to benefit from a good polish, so pretty vintage these. So I suppose we should turn our thoughts to next week. Now at the moment I'm right in the middle of filming a big shunting session. So I went to IKEA at the weekend, and my boy needed a new bookcase for his room, for his computer games and stuff. I needed a new one for the office, so I've made a little bit more room so I can get one more big bookcase in, and I'm moving some of the paperbacks down from upstairs into the office, and that's going to give me some more room for some pan books and things like that. So collections that have expanded a bit. So I'm in the middle of doing that, and I have been filming it. Cool, that's made a huge difference. I have been filming it, and it's one of those videos that is going to be made over the course of a week and a half or so, and it'll be edited together to make a big epic, probably best part of an hour or two video. They usually end up a couple of hours, to be honest. It's going to be predominantly Pan and Penguin, plus moving other smaller collections from the loft into the new bookcase in the office, because they're books that have been filmed for this channel. I've done sort of dedicated videos on my main channel, so chances are I'm not going to need those out anytime soon, so that's why they're being moved downstairs now. So yeah, look out for that on the other channel fairly soon. But I am thinking we are overdue doing cleaning some Penguin main series books, so that really should be the next one, in all honesty. So it will either be Penguin main series, or I may do my numbered Star Trek books, which are would be good to get those cleaned before I do my dedicated video on the main channel, where I look at the first, well, the run of pocket books, numbered Star Trek books in numerical order. So that's something that's on the horizon. This one's got a mark on the back, which is going to need there we are. It's an old sticker mark, no doubt. So yeah, so next week I imagine it's going to be vintage Penguin main series paperbacks, because that's what we've ignored for a while. And I may do those, and then I'll be in a great position then to do the next shunting session, the Penguin part of it at least, you know, where I basically, with a shunting session, I give all the books a bit more room to breathe, and I add in all the latest acquisitions. Now, I've not had loads and loads of Penguin books, but I have had a fair few. I've had enough to warrant struggling to get them all in. So when the books are on the bookcases and there's books on top, meaning that that's the area there where they need to go, and I haven't had a chance to put them in, that usually means that they're overdue. I'm overdue a shunting session, and I did look back. It's about 8 months since I've last done one. So because of that, I think I need to get one of those organised. So look out for that quite soon. Now this Star Wars sketchbook is cleaned up absolutely fine. except there's still some sticker residue right there. So we'll give it a moment. I'll just let that soak in. I'll give this one a polish. This one was in much better condition. It was gorgeous. Probably quite scarce, this one as well, so pleased to have this one in nice condition. And if I remember, I will grab a photo of how the large format books that we've done so far, how they're looking now on the shelf compared, well, I haven't got a before and after sadly, but believe me, they are looking so much better than what they have looked at, because they really haven't been gone through properly for a few years. In fact, more than a few years. So let's see if this has done anything with that sticker. Well, it has a bit. I mean, it looks better than what it was, but it's still not going to be perfect. I just don't think it's ever going to come off. So, regardless, let's give these a brush. That little quartet of books looks a lot better than they did prior to us making a start on it. I really enjoy those ones. They're really excellent. And the last one, we've got a couple more sealed books, so these aren't going to take too long. So once again, if you've enjoyed this video, do please leave a comment below. Now, if few of you are a little bit behind on some of the videos, believe me, you don't have to watch them all, just watch the ones you're interested in. Lots of stuff happening on the other channel. There's some great videos. In fact, Star Wars one that's been doing very well, looking at the latest Vectis auction. So yeah, check that one out if you get a chance. Thanks as always to my patron and channel members. Their support is definitely spurring me on, and it really does help out keep the bills paid, as it were. And yeah, I shall look forward to seeing you again next week, when I suspect it'll either be the second part of the Star Trek paperbacks, or I'll try and squeeze in a vintage Penguin one while I've got the collection all out, which I think probably makes more sense. Anyway, thanks for watching today, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.